I'm beginning to understand something clearly about life, is that oftentimes it is the interruptions in our lives that allow us to become resilient. Resilience is not a one-time thing. It is the accumulation of the setbacks and the interruptions and the pain and the struggles and the difficulties that allow us to move forward. Resilience is this idea of bouncing back, but I'm convinced that when we face these things in our lives, it's not about simply just bouncing back, it's about becoming stronger. When we have interruptions, we must step back and look at the big picture. And I think that that's something that the Bible teaches us. I was thinking about this moment in the Bible around this personality in the Bible's life named Paul. We often refer to him as the Apostle Paul. The Apostle Paul gives us a demonstration of what it means to look at life and be resilient from a big picture. And we see this moment, and he's got this co-worker named Silas that was going with him, and they end up in this situation that's so dire, so, I would imagine, interrupted their plan for the day that they didn't expect it. A mob quickly formed against Paul and Silas, and the city officials ordered them stripped and beaten with wooden rods. They were severely beaten, and then they were thrown into prison. The jailer was ordered to make sure they didn't escape, so the jailer put them into the inner dungeon and clamped their feet in the stocks. See, sometimes the interruptions feel like that at times, don't they? It's you go into work on Monday morning and you feel like you get the week ahead of you, and then they walk you out 5 minutes later saying you're done. Or the phone call comes in and tells you that the news isn't good, or your daughter calls you and tells you that her marriage is done, or a good friend that you thought was a good friend that you could trust is gossiping behind your back, and you're devastated by this moment. It feels like you've been stripped naked and beaten. Now, when we face these interruptions, what do we do? How do we respond? Look at verse 25. It says, around midnight, Paul and Silas were praying and singing hymns to God, and the other prisoners were listening. I don't know if they're necessarily praying that God gets them out of this. They're actually looking at it from the lens of, God, you see the big picture here. God, I'm going to trust you. You see the front of the puzzle box. I don't, and I'm going to allow you to use this moment as a piece of the puzzle that brings about a greater picture of what you're trying to accomplish in this moment. I believe that in order for us to pray, it sets our minds in the right direction, and maybe it's about even the protection of our minds. The praying to God is the surrenderedness to God that his plan would unfold in the midst of the particular interruption that we face. But they also sang hymns to God. Praise has the ability to protect our hearts. The point is the expression of our words that we give back to God for who he is, to shape our perspective of him in the midst of our interruption. And there's these writings in the Old Testament called the Psalms, and there's this one psalm that's been running around inside my head and heart. It's Psalm 34. I will praise the Lord at all times. I will constantly speak his praises. I will boast only in the Lord. Let all who are helpless take heart. Come, let us tell of the Lord's greatness. Let us exalt his name forever. That is the power of what praise can do, is the lifting up of his name in the midst of what we face.